Welcome to the Williamsburg Gamers Guild. I'm William Henry Palmer, aka the Blank Page, and we are here with Alina.
Yep.
How's it been going?
It's been going. Enjoying the New Year's. Recently started playing Apex Legends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you pick on there? I haven't played it for a couple of months.
I've been picking Caustic.
Caustic?
Mainly.
Is that a new character?
Yeah, I want to say he's, new-ish. I know he was one of those characters that they released him, but you had to pay money for him. Unless you got, like, their in-game currency sort of deal.
Okay. I know, like, it's kind of like an RPG type of game. So what does that character do? Like, they have, like, special powers each.
In Battle or in Apex?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Apex, what it is, it's a Battle Royale game where each character, or as they call them, legends, have different abilities and stuff like that. So most of them actually are based off of a lot of the Titanfall abilities, especially Titanfall 2's. But how Caustic works is he sets up noxious gas traps.
Okay.
Which when people trigger them, it slows them down. It causes damage to them, stuff like that. So his kind of goal is to trap people, control an area, stuff like that. It's a little bit more difficult in at least this current map because there's not a lot of choke points.
Okay.
But sometimes if you're above an enemy, you can toss traps down on them, and then they'll trigger it, and you can shoot down at them while they're all, like, slowed down.
Okay.
It's a pretty decent game, especially for a free-to-play one.
Oh, yeah. I played it when it first came out, but my friend's been trying to get me to get back into it, but I just haven't done it yet. Been kind of bullshitting. Been playing Gears 5, been playing some Smite, and I've been playing, what's the open world game I'm playing? Dragon Age Inquisition.
Inquisition's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only one I've played, so which one would you say is the best one out of the three?
Honestly, it really kind of depends. Because all three of them play very, very differently.
Okay.
So, the first one's my personal favorite. So that one, it's a little bit more RPG heavy.
Okay.
So, it plays kind of like, have you ever played older BioWare games at all?
Like Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, it pretty much plays like Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay.
So, combat-wise, it's just you can freeze time, instruct your guys to attack certain enemies, queue up attacks, stuff like that. But I always found the story in Origins to be much more interesting.
Okay.
And I personally like the old dialogue tree a little bit better, and I enjoyed the way you leveled yourself up, because you had an attribute system, you had a skill system, and then you had a tactical system as well.
Okay.
So when you leveled up, you had to level up whichever attributes you wanted, you got to choose an attack skill, and then you got to use more like I think they were called like tacticals, but you could increase your speed, your lockpick, stuff like that. While in Inquisition, the combat's a little better, because you can physically kind of swing, but their level up system is extremely simplified, and their dialogue tree is kind of the Mass Effect one, where you have like a small branch, and it kind of gives you an idea of what you're going to say, but not exactly how you're going to say it.
Yeah, very.
I wasn't a fan of the RPG elements in Inquisition, because depending on which class you picked, depended on which stat was leveled up. It was automatically leveled up. Only way you could control it is through armor crafting.
Right.
Sort of deal. So if I was playing a warrior, but I wanted to increase my constitution, which is your health, you had to do it through armor, because when you leveled up, you didn't actually get to choose that.
Yeah, I found that very strange, because at first I was wondering, because I was gaining levels, right, and I was like, my attributes aren't going anywhere, so I had to look it up online.
Yeah.
And I heard that. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it, and like the new dialogue tree that they do, it's good in a more cinematic way. You know, actually watching your character have a conversation with somebody else is, again, a little bit more cinematic. But the problem is that you don't always know what they're going to say. So I remember playing Dragon Age 2, where they introduced that into the Dragon Age games. What was it? Some guy takes your estate, and your sister's just like, hey, we got to go in there. I chose the tough guy option. And pretty much the tough guy option, here's me just saying, oh, we're going to go in there and beat them up. Instead, he starts spewing about how he's going to slaughter them and all this other stuff, and it's just like, okay, that's a little extreme. But it's, personally, I like Origins more, but there's plenty of people who really like Inquisition, and 2 is a little bit more mixed.
Okay.
A lot of people kind of like how they did the combat in 2, but 2 literally takes place in one city. It's just,
that
the
seems pretty
entire
limited.
game is in that one city, so you don't get a change of scenery at all. But I could never get into 2. I beat Origins and Inquisition, but...
You skipped 2?
I skipped 2, yeah.
Oh, shit. So, is it like Mass Effect where your decisions carry over?
They can.
Okay.
So, if I remember right, 2 does not start after the end of 1. 2 actually starts, I want to say, near the beginning of where 1 starts. Because in every Dragon Age game, you play as a different character.
Okay, yeah, I kind of got that feeling.
Yeah, so in the first one, you played as the Warden. Second one, you played as, I want to say he's the champion. And the third one, you played as the Inquisitor.
Yes.
So you could technically kind of skip over them if you wanted to.
Okay, so I did the smart thing, okay.
Yeah, well, the problem is, though, is that Inquisition really takes a lot from 2.
Okay.
Like, I think the main villain in Inquisition is, like, one of the primary villains in 2 and stuff like that. So if you didn't play 2, you can get a little confused. But luckily, BioWare does the writing well enough where anybody can jump in, and it's pretty easy to figure out. But it's not really like Mass Effect where it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
So, like, your decisions will matter, but it's not as extreme. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So
you played through all the Mass Effects, though?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so who'd you save in the first one? You saved Kaidan or Ashley?
I saved Ashley.
Oh, yeah, that's like universal.
Well,
in a
it's
way.
funny because, at least this is what I noticed with Kaidan. I usually play as male characters in games. If you play as a male character, Kaidan doesn't talk to you in the first one.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought wasn't he gay?
They made him gay in 3. Actually, it's bi in 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mass Effect 3 was the first Mass Effect game where they actually had a gay male in it.
Yeah, the pilot, right?
Gosh, I can't remember.
It's like Cortez?
I think so. I can't remember
Yeah,
some of them in 3.
It's like 15 hours.
Because, like, I know Kaidan, they made gay, but in all of the other ones, it was the Asari, which was pretty much a lesbian race anyways, that could literally reproduce with anyone. So that's even kind of cheating in that degree. So it's just like, we have this all-female race that can literally reproduce with anyone. So it's just like, that's cheating. So, but, yeah, at least when I played, he never wanted to talk to me.
Wow.
So, of course, while playing through it, I always, chose Ashley, but Ashley's kind of a bit of a dick anyways.
Oh, she's an asshole.
Like,
that's why I like her, though.
She's a xenophobe, though. She hates aliens.
Yeah, she does. She's a tank, though, so I like using her in the first game.
You see, I liked using Garrison Rex.
Okay.
In the first game. I always thought they were really fun.
What did your character do?
I usually played as a soldier.
Okay, same, yeah.
So...
Actually, did they have Sentinel in the first one?
They did.
Okay, yeah, I picked that one then.
Yeah, they were all in the first one, but the first one worked fairly different than all the other ones. If I remember right, their skill tree was a little bit more standard RPG. I always thought it was funny, though, because you had to put skills in, like, your guns.
Yeah, like you had acid weapons, like fire weapons.
Well, actually, in the first one, like, they had acid and fire and stuff like that, but you added those usually with mods.
Yeah.
In the first game, if you were a soldier, you had a sniper skill, shotgun skill, assault rifle skill, stuff like that. And then as you upped your skill, the more damage you did, and your reticle would decrease, so you would become more accurate. I just thought it was funny because you are this elite soldier, right?
Right.
You're literally this N7 soldier. You become a Spectre, but when you fire your rifle, it's just literally all over the place.
Yeah.
It made no lick of sense.
And then the gameplay itself was kind of glitchy at first. There's like one part where no matter what difficulty I played it on, it was difficult because it was like the character was kind of glitching. It was near the beginning. It was this like type of creature that was like hop on the walls from like ceiling all over the place.
Yeah, I remember that. It was, I can't remember the Geth's name, but yeah, it was honestly BioWare's first shot at making something that wasn't just click and attack sort of deal. It was their first third-person cover-based shooter. So before that, they've never done it. So of course, it was a little wonky. Getting into cover was literally just walk up and your guy immediately stuck to it, and it always kind of felt very loose.
Yeah.
Luckily, they learned their mistake with Mass Effect 2.
What would you say was the best one out of those three?
I'm gonna have to go with the majority and say Mass Effect 2 is the best one.
Yep.
Like, I still really like Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 3, I have mixed feelings about.
Is it because of the ending?
Not really, no.
Okay.
It was, for me at least, there was more problems with Mass Effect 3 than just the end.
Oh, like what, though? Because usually when I hear someone complain about it, it's usually the ending.
So, for me, when it came down to Mass Effect 3, it actually had to do a lot with the side quests and the exploration of the game.
Okay.
So, in, like, Mass Effect 1 and 2, you had multiple hub areas you could go in, explore, and stuff like that. So, like, you had, I think it was 3 in total in both of those, right? And then on top of that, you could scan planets, and you could unlock missions that allowed you to go down to said planets and explore, do the missions, stuff like that. In Mass Effect 3, they pretty much got rid of that.
Yeah, they did.
So what ended up happening is you go into, like, the Citadel, guy would be like, hey, yeah, you know, I need this artifact, can you get it for me? You go to the planet, you scan it, you pick it up from orbit, and that was the entire side mission. It was super boring.
Yeah.
So the only time you actually went down to a planet is if it was like a quote-unquote important side mission, mainly like a companion mission.
Yeah, okay.
Or it was a story mission. So it pretty much removed the joy of trying to do all these side missions and discovering new stuff and stuff like that. Which again, the ending itself was mainly due to the lack of explanation, and let's be fair, at the end of the day, the only decisions that really mattered was how much troop support you got at the end of the game. That was about it. So everything else didn't matter.
What decision did you pick out of the 3? Did you go with synthesis? Did you say fuck the robots?
When I first played it, I went with the synthesis, well, the one that merges them.
Yeah.
So merges organics and synths. And then I went with all of the other ones. I always kind of liked the control one, where Shepard just controls all of, like, the Reapers and whatnot.
Yeah.
I always thought it was interesting, at least. I just always kind of liked the monologue at the end of it. It's a little weird, but it's almost like switching it. So instead of having, like, these massive destructive machines controlling everyone, you are now controlling them. So
Totally. I never picked that one. I always pick synthesis.
I mean, some of the other endings are neat. Once you, like, download the extended ending.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot they had one. I remember beating that one. It was like, you beat it, then like 2 minutes later, they show like a few pictures, then it's over.
Yeah. It was, they didn't have an explanation on anything that happened.
No. Nothing.
So it really was, at the end of it, just, what color did you like? Just, are you a fan of blue, red, or green? So, honestly, they could have done a Fallout where all it was a slideshow with, you know, I can't remember that actor's name, but with him just monologuing what your decisions did, and it would have probably been a better ending.
Oh, that reminds me. I never played Fallout before, but there's a game that came out, The Outer Worlds, that's made by the Fallout people. Have you played that?
I have. Now, it's not necessarily made by the Fallout people. At least I think maybe they were the original creators, but I know they made Fallout New Vegas.
Okay.
Now, Outer Worlds is, at least for me, what Fallout 4 should have been.
So you're a Fallout fan. You've played through all of them?
Not all of them. I've only really played 3, New Vegas, and 4.
Okay.
I never played the original, never played Tactics, stuff like that. 3 was actually my first Bethesda game. But the nice part with Outer Worlds is it's only like a 15-20 hour game.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
It is, but it has very high replay value due to like the decisions you can make in the game and stuff like that. Like me and a couple of friends, we all played, through it, and like the first area, like all 4 of us got totally different endings for it.
What happened when you beat it?
So what I did, I played a very diplomatic person.
Okay.
So I kind of talked my way through the entire last level.
Okay. So you had you put on the scientist outfit and just walk through.
Not quite. So I did sneak through as much as I could.
Okay.
Sort of deal. But of course they spotted me at some point, and then I had to do a firefight. But yeah, you can sneak through pretty much the entirety of that level. You could actually beat it without firing a single shot, and then you could actually convince the bad guys at the end of it to work with you. So pretty much I played through that end level almost not firing a single shot, and then convincing one of them to leave and the other one to work for me.
Which ones? 'Cause I know there was the army type corporal leader, then it's like the one who opened you up from the pod at the beginning of the game.
So I worked with, what was his name? Was it? I don't think it was Phineas.
Festus?
I can't remember his name. The scientist dude. I worked with him, but what I did instead of just destroying the entire board and whatnot, I had the head of the board pretty much act as my puppet.
Okay.
So at the end of it, he was still working with them. He was the face, but I was the one pulling the strings. And then I pretty much forced the, the general, the woman who's in charge of, their security and whatnot, to leave.
Okay.
So that's kind of the ending that I got. And then I got another friend who literally dismantled the entire board. And then I had the other one who worked with the board and literally betrayed Phineas and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what I did. I sold out.
You sold him out?
Yeah, I sold out.
Yeah, he was just like, since everybody else is doing something different, I'm going to do this one. So, yeah, that was a good game. I would definitely put it up in my top 5 of last year.
Of last year? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your 5 of last year then?
So my 5 of last year, so of course there was Outer Worlds.
Okay.
Metro Exodus.
Never played that.
No, they're great. Sekiro.
I haven't even heard of that.
Really?
What is that?
Well, funny enough, Sekiro won Game of the Year last year.
Really?
So
Okay.
it's made by the guys who make Dark Souls, Bloodborne, stuff like that. So
Okay.
the guys who make difficult games. Pretty much you play as a shinobi named Sekiro who loses his charge, and pretty much his job is to get him back.
Okay.
And once you get him back, you work with him, sort of deal. But the cool part with the game itself, it had a multi-life system in it. So if you died, you could bring yourself back to life right on the spot.
Okay.
Now you had to charge for it, though. But I will say I've played all the Souls games. I played Demon Souls, the Dark Souls trilogy, Bloodborne, stuff like that. Sekiro is the best one they've made.
Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna skip all those and I'm gonna check that one out. Then.
Definitely.
Well, oh wait. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Yep.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, that game was spot on.
Yeah, I saw a speed run of that. That was pretty impressive to watch that game. It's pretty in depth.
It's one of the I always like telling people it's tough to learn. It really is. It's not like Dark Souls where really all you either need to do is learn how to dodge or put up your shield all the time. In this game, they want you to know how to parry. They want you to jump over sweeps, counter thrusts, stuff like that. But due to their poise system and their stamina system, you can pretty much wipe out bosses in a matter of seconds if you really know what you're doing. Yeah, it's...
Was that the level you were on? Just knocking them out in 5 seconds flat?
So, not during my second playthrough, I was getting close to that. So there's a mechanic in that game called Dragon Rot.
Okay.
So the more you die, the more people are affected by Dragon Rot, and they can die, and it also makes it give you a lower chance of keeping your, I want to say they're souls, I'm just going to call them souls, but keeping your souls after you die. So now on my second playthrough, I was blitzing through the game.
Okay.
Sort of deal. Now, in order to get the Dragon Rot thing, you have to die a certain amount of times, and you have to talk to somebody, and then they give you a solution on how to heal it. My second time through, I didn't die enough times till I hit a new boss who was absolutely destroying me, and then the Dragon Rot system came in, and it turned out I couldn't fix it. Because I ended up doing a story thing that made it impossible for the person to give me the solution how to fix it.
Gotcha.
So everybody's dying from pretty much dragon cancer now in my game, and I can't fix it. So at this point, it's just like I just have to beat the second playthrough while everyone's dying around me. So.
Wow. It's pretty fascinating that the game shifts like that, kind of like Mass Effect and whatnot, where...
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's see. What would you say is the hardest game that you've ever beat before, since you've played a vast variety of these games?
The hardest game that I've ever beaten.
Or played.
And gave up. Or played and gave up. Does Spider-Man 2 count? I've never beaten Spider-Man 2.
Was that game hard?
Well, when I was a kid, I couldn't beat Doc Ock.
Okay.
So I could probably beat Doc Ock now. Probably one of the hardest games I've played, and I haven't beaten, Darkest Dungeon.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that.
What system is that on?
It is on PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation,
Okay.
sort of. So how it works, it's a positional-based, turn-based dungeon crawler.
Okay.
So kind of the gist of the story is, your ancestor pretty much committed suicide, but he went into, like, his property, found this Cthulhu-esque entity there,
Okay.
and now he's giving you the property to go in there and get rid of it. And so kind of the whole story of the game is you're hiring these, like, glory seekers to go into these dungeons, clear them, find loot, build back up your estate so you can go into the darkest dungeon.
Okay.
Right? The game itself is really hard, and it's not just RNG based, which, do you know what
What's
RNG?
I was about to say.
Random number generator, pretty much.
Okay.
It's sort of like what determines what loot you get in Destiny.
Okay.
Kind of deal.
That makes sense.
But the cool part about the game is that your attacks and buffs and whatnot depend on your position, your ally's position, and your enemy's position.
Okay.
So let's say I have this one chick named a Hellion.
Okay.
Kind of deal. She has this attack where she can hit the person in row 4, like spot 4, but she has to be in spot 1 to do it. So when you're planning out these dungeons and whatnot, you also have to plan out what position your guys are going to be in. They can also get randomly shuffled by surprises, attacks, stuff like that, so you also have to take that into consideration. Like, I'm going into this dungeon where they have like a high shuffle chance or a high pushback chance. What can I do to bring this person back up to the front where they need to be? They also have a, a stress meter in the game as well. So on top of your guys having health, they also have stress.
What affects their stress?
Being in the dungeon too long can do
so
it.
there's a game outside the dungeon too, or is it just like a rest base until you go back into the dungeon?
Bit of both. So when you're not in the dungeon, you are hiring new people, leveling up their gear, their abilities, building up your state, stuff like that.
Okay.
The primary goal is to go into each dungeon, conquer the dungeon, stuff like that. But when you're not in the dungeon, you're planning out healing your people, stuff like that. It is a fantastic game. They're working on a second one.
Okay.
But it is hard.
When did this game come out?
Oh god, it came out several years ago. I can't even remember. But it is really good, and there's no shame playing it on the easiest difficulty.
Okay.
Like, the easy difficulty doesn't even make the game easier. It just makes it less redundant. So, makes it where you earn more gold, things cost a little less. Also, there are certain people who will not work with other people if you're playing it on, like, normal hard.
Okay.
There's a, a unit called the Abomination. Pretty much, he's a guy in, like, chains and shackles, but he has a transform ability, which transforms him into, like, this giant mutant wolf. But, holy warriors and whatnot will refuse to work with him.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
you can't bring in Vestals and Crusaders. If you try to, they're just like, nah, not doing it. If you're playing it on the easiest difficulty, they don't care. But the funny part with that one is when he transforms, he can actually increase the stress of everyone around him, and over each course of every turn he's still transformed, it increases his stress too.
Okay.
Now the fun part with the stress meter is when they hit like 100 stress, they hit a virtue check, where either they can overcome their stress, and usually they'll get like a valiant, stuff like that, where their stress meter goes down, they'll get a buff, and they'll even like buff up their teammates, or they can succumb to it, and I'm trying to think what it's called, but pretty much they can succumb to it, and it will cause them to act out, stress out their
Kind
units,
of
stuff like that.
they stop listening to you, kind of like Pokemon.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
I had it where I had my Vestal kept turning abusive.
Oh wow!
So
So you attack the teammates.
She would attack the teammates, yeah. So she would go up and whack them, or every time they didn't do something right, or every time they did something right, she would harass them, which would also increase their stress as well. So, like, I had one Vestal who was constantly harassing my bounty hunter. My leopard turned abusive, turned around and almost killed her during, like, my turn, which happens. So you also have to keep their stress in mind. And if their stress hits 200, their stress gets knocked down a tiny bit, but they get something called a heart attack, which brings their health all the way down to 0, which puts them into a state called Death's Door, which, if they get hit while in Death's Door, they have a chance of dying.
Okay.
So...
You beat it on the hardest level?
I have never beaten it.
Okay.
I have never beaten that game. I've tried going into the darkest dungeon once and just ended up losing every single person.
Damn.
So losing people is just par for the course.
How many people do you have with you at one time?
4.
Okay.
So you can bring 4 people into a dungeon.
Okay. So is that 4 total or 4 with your person? Or is there no one person?
You're not a person.
Okay.
It's almost like you're commanding these guys.
Okay. Gotcha.
Kind of deal. So you're the person running the estate and stuff like that, but you're not in the game.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also has like the best narrator ever. Like he has the best voice.
Okay.
But yeah, I recommend it to anyone who's looking for like a tough game that has a really cool art style to it and doesn't play like a lot of stuff now, since everything now is just kind of a first-person shooter or battle royale.
See, I was talking about that with one of my friends not too long ago, that a lot of games are kind of becoming the exact same game. That's why games like Mario stand the test of time, because you can't play Mario as a different game. You can't find those elements in one game, whereas like Call of Duty, Battlefield, even Mass Effect is kind of, besides the story, is kind of like a shooting-based game where it's very similar to all the other shooting games.
Yeah, they always take inspiration from each other, kind of deal. It's just more of, and that's also because very westernized audiences enjoy more first-person shooters than anything else.
Makes sense.
But due to the fact that first-person shooters sell better, the market's kind of more oversaturated with it.
Makes sense.
So that's why you see way more first-person games that require some sort of shooting in it than you do with a platformer like Mario. So it's just, and then of course you have Call of Duty that releases every single year, which also doesn't help the market. But pretty much Call of Duty almost killed off all of its competition anyway. So, like, you don't see Medal of Honors anymore. Or anything like that.
I forgot about that game.
Yeah, they tried bringing it back, but it could not compete.
It's done.
Yeah. And then, of course, and this is something that I always found funny with Call of Duty, is that Call of Duty itself always takes inspiration from other games.
Okay, like what? What's an example?
Titanfall.
Titanfall?
Yeah, Titanfall.
Oh yeah, that I forgot they had that futuristic Call of Duty game.
The wall running.
Wow,
which I thought was the funniest thing, because the guys who made Titanfall, Respawn Entertainment, originally came from Infinity Ward.
Okay.
Pretty much what happened after they made Modern Warfare 3, they wanted to make a new game. Activision said no. So I think, if I remember right, they got fired. Ended up making their own studio, working with EA, named Respawn. They made Titanfall, and Titanfall was really successful with its wall running mechanic, which honestly is probably one of the best first-person parkour games out there. So...
Did you play Mirror's Edge?
I did. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But when Black Ops 3 came around, what was it? It was either Black Ops 3 or Infinite Warfare, I can't remember. But they took the wall running mechanic from Titanfall and shoved it into their Call of Duty game. And that's where people started complaining, where they wanted boots on the ground, stuff like that again.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because the wall running in Titanfall, and now they're doing something called Ground War in the new Modern Warfare, which is pretty much just Battlefield.
I haven't played the new one too much, but when I saw the gameplay for it, it looks like Battlefield. Yeah,
it's pretty much they took the 32 versus 32 and put everybody on a big map with vehicles kind of deal and called it a new thing. But,
of course.
You know, I always had people who told me, hey, you love Battlefield, you should play this, and it's just like, but Call of Duty doesn't have the destructibility of Battlefield.
Oh, no.
So it's just like, you'll get sniped at by a sniper, and in Battlefield you blow up the house. In Call of Duty you can't do that.
Yes.
So they just kind of sit in the house for the entire game.
Do you have a favorite Battlefield game? Because I've played that more than Call of Duty over the past, since Black Ops.
Yeah. So favorite Battlefield game, I would like to say Bad Company, but I never got to play Bad Company.
I tried to play Bad Company 2 2 years ago. It's so outdated that it's hard to play.
It is. That's always the tough part about going back to games. But I will say, I think my favorite is Battlefield 4.
Same. I was going to say that.
Yeah, mainly because I think that was the one where I really started getting into it. Like, I played Modern Combat 2 once upon a time.
Modern Combat 2?
Yeah, that was released early 360, late Xbox original era.
Oh, wow.
It was actually a really cool game. So, I mean, I only played the campaign of it, but the mechanic of it was, of course, you had a big battlefield, but you could switch between units at will.
Okay.
So what you would do is you would pretty much see all the units on your map, and let's say I'm an engineer on the ground. I see someone on my team flying a helicopter. If I look up and press a button, you had to play a class in order to unlock weaponry. And the assault class had the best weapon in the entire game.
Which was?
I want to say the Hellriegel.
Okay.
It was so stupid that everybody played assaults. Nobody played anything else because that one gun was the best thing in the game. Battlefield 5, though, was a step in the right direction.
That was also an older one back in time,
That one
right?
was a World War II one.
Okay, yeah.
So
I played that one a little bit more.
That one, I really like the fact that playing as a squad got you points, which the squad lead could use to call in, bombs, care packages, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it almost supported you being a team. But that was the one where they also added, sliding, better mantling. They also had you build reinforcements, stuff like that. So it kind of added more of a strategical aspect of it instead of just blowing up everything and hoping for the best. Didn't play the campaign in that one though.
Yeah, they're usually about 5 hours and kind of weak a little bit to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with Call of Duty. Nobody plays Battlefield
Yeah,
for the campaigns.
totally.
But they add them anyways for the people who do.
Yeah.
Which I found that funny with Black Ops 4 when they removed the campaign on that one.
Yeah, might as well. I mean,
they got a lot of pushback for that though.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually people don't play the single player mode from my experience.
Yeah, but there are people who do.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if the power went out or something like that, that's probably when I would play it.
Yeah, it's because there were plenty of people who wanted the new Black Ops 4, and what was it? I think I was working at that time, and we always had to tell them it has no single player, it's online only, and of course they were upset about that.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably so. The new Call of Duty still requires internet even if you want to play.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah. So it's a little weird how they have that set up, but from like my experience, any game that does not add a campaign to it, and especially when it sells at full retail price, gets a lot of flack. Like Titanfall 1 got a lot of flack as well for not having a campaign. So in Titanfall 2 they added a campaign, which everybody seemed to love that campaign. And Titanfall 3 they haven't gotten to yet because they're focusing on Apex.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big game right now. It's like in the top 5 online streaming for Twitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that and Fortnite.
Have you played Fortnite?
I played it before they added the Battle Royale.
So hold on, how did you play it before that? Like what happened?
So Fortnite was originally not a Battle Royale game. It was a wave-based game.
Wow, okay, like hordes.
Yeah, that one is called Save the World.
Okay.
So pretty much with that one, it was you would drop down into a mission area. They would give you a main mission, side missions, stuff like that, and you had to complete the main mission in a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And usually during this time, you would try looting, finding materials, stuff like that. And you would fight these zombie-type enemies, and there were different types of zombies. But you would build pretty much forts and whatnot to fight off these hordes and defend the objective. That one didn't do so well, mainly because that was not free to play. It was in early access beta where you had to pay like $40 in order to play pretty much a game in beta. And then PUBG started getting really popular. So they were like, we could do the same thing. So they made a free-to-play part of Fortnite, which was the Battle Royale,
wow.
Which took off.
Yeah.
So nobody even really knows that the original Fortnite was just not even really a competitive multiplayer game. It was a wave game. So, I mean, it was halfway decent at the time.
Really?
But, like, I couldn't really get into it too much, but it was kind of fun to play with friends, but it was very heavy grinding.
Okay.
So, you had, like, your dailies, weeklies, limited time missions, stuff like that. But, yeah, no, the Battle Royale was it just did better.
Yo, totally. That was the new wave. Like, I remember when PUBG came out, my cousin had it, like, before it came on the console. He had it, like, as soon as it came out on the computer, he had it. It was kind of weird, because I'd never seen a game like that before.
Yeah.
But he was pretty good at it, so it was fun watching him play. I've never been good at PUBG for some reason. Like, the shooting, I don't know why. I can usually aim pretty good on most shooting games, but PUBG is kind of, I don't know why, it's weird to me.
I mean, I can't remember who made PUBG. I think it might have be the guys who made Arma. I never played PUBG mainly because I always saw PUBG as an unfinished game, and I didn't want to spend money on it.
Oh, no, I feel you. I understand what you mean. It's too open. Like, you can go a good 10 minutes without seeing anybody.
I mean, there have been plenty of Apex games where that's happened.
Oh, yeah.
The other night I was playing with a friend of mine. Our random teammate, our rando, DC'd on us. So it's just kind of me and him walking throughout the entire map. we got into the top 2, did not encounter a single person till we got to the top 2, and then we killed the last 2 people and won. So really, we won the entire match, encountering absolutely no one.
Oh, yeah.
And then just taking advantage of the fact that they just got out of a skirmish with another group and finished them off.
Have you ever played, it was a game that was only a little bit popular for like a month or two. It's called Realm Royale.
No, never played Realm Royale.
Yeah, it's basically one of those battle games where like you were just like Fortnite, PUBG, but when you kill someone, they turn into a chicken, and they just kind of run around, and it's kind of hard to shoot them. So I found that pretty, like, just that aspect of it. If I thought about that game, I'll think about turning to a chicken and running away. Then if you don't get killed, you turn back into your regular person. You can shoot again.
I mean, that's a very interesting mechanic. I have never even heard of it though.
It's over. It's done.
It probably didn't do so well.
No, I played it for like a good 2 or 3 weeks, then
it just kind of fell off. Reminds me a lot of Paladins. Pretty much everybody called it the Overwatch ripoff.
Is it free?
It is. It's made by the guys who made Smite.
Okay. I tried to play it, but I couldn't play it.
I played a little bit of it.
Oh, God.
Like, I actually really liked playing it. For a free-to-play game, it wasn't that bad. The problem is everybody compared it to Overwatch.
Oh, no. Overwatch is really good.
Yeah, which is a fair assessment. It took a lot of the characters from Overwatch. You pretty much have a Reinhardt in there as Fernando. And then you had a Torbjorn-esque character, which was a dwarf who just kind of threw turrets down. His name was Barrack. So it's like you had pretty much a lot of the same characters in it, but one was a MOBA and the other one wasn't.
Okay.
At least I want to say it was a MOBA.
Did you play Overwatch?
I did.
Who'd you play? Who'd you pick?
I played Roadhog and Torbjorn.
Okay, I picked Agent 56, whatever, I'm not sure.
I can't remember his name.
And then there was
Soldier 76.
Soldier 76, that's right. Now there was like a purple sniper chick. I played her as well. Widowmaker, that's right. And then there was a big shield person with like a hammer.
Reinhardt.
Yep, Reinhardt. Yeah. Those were my 3. And wait. There was a ninja, like Genji, who threw like thorn knives and the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was I liked him too.
Yeah, I liked Overwatch when it was young.
You don't think it aged well?
Well, it's not that it didn't age well. I think it aged relatively well. It's more of Overwatch is one of those games you have to stick with.
Okay, yeah.
Because the moment you stop, everything changes because they're constantly updating, they're constantly rebalancing the game, and the people who stick with it are learning what the new metas are, how to kind of exploit the maps and stuff like that. So if you didn't stick with the game, you really, really fell behind. And the main reason why I stopped was because Overwatch turned into a game where either you were steamrolling or you were the one steamrolling.
Yeah, definitely.
It wasn't an equal match anymore of like, oh, this is a good match. It lasted for a while. It was, well, either you're absolutely destroying the other team or the other team's absolutely destroying you. And the extremes were just not fun to me.
Wait, you played all these hard games, right? And you said that you couldn't, like, Smite was too hard for you. Or like you couldn't, like you kept losing or something?
I just didn't play a lot of Smite.
Okay.
I just didn't really get into the mechanics too much. I played as a snake. I can't remember its
Probably
name.
Medusa.
Not Medusa.
Not Medusa?
It was a mage.
Oh, wait. One. Yeah, okay. I know who you talk. It's like Nuwa, or I don't know.
It was the wind one that everybody hated. It was the noob character.
Okay.
I mean, I played a bit of it. I just
Kukulkan.
Kukulkan.
Yeah, that every match has Kukulkan in it.
Yeah, that was the only one that I could play. I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't my kind of game.
True that.
I played it for probably a good week and just was like, not my thing.
Yeah, I didn't think I would like it, but one of my old roommates when I was living in D.C., he was heavy on, not World of Warcraft, but what's the other game that's just like Smite?
League of Legends.
Yeah, he played that shit all the time. So after just watching him play it over and over again, I just kind of adapted to it. Then eventually I saw Smite, and I was kind of getting into researching like mythology and things of that nature. So it kind of just clicked with me.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I had tried getting into it, but I guess I'm just not that big of a MOBA fan.
True that.
Again, closest ones I ever played was... Well, actually, no. Paladins isn't a MOBA. Battleborn.
Battleborn, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that it existed. I never played it though.
It wasn't half bad.
Okay.
It wasn't half bad. The problem is they tried to compete with Overwatch. Pretty much it was made by the guys who made like Borderlands, stuff like that. Oh. It was a first-person shooter MOBA. So of course you had like towers you had to capture, buffs, and all that other stuff for it. It actually doesn't play anything like Overwatch, so everybody kind of got it confused with it.
Okay.
But the funny part is with it, it sold so poorly that it became free to play. Right? So
then it kind of blew up.
Not even. No. It's still pretty much dead. But it went free to play, but you could still buy the physical game. So the free to play option for it is that you had 5 different characters unlocked.
Okay.
And it would shuffle through them every, I want to say, week or a couple of days, and then you could play a new one, or you could either buy money or earn in-game currency to buy the new ones. You also couldn't play the campaign unless you bought the main game. Now, here's the funny thing. In order to purchase a character by, like, buying their currency, like the microtransaction one, it's about, like, $5.
Okay.
You can buy the entire game for $5 now.
Oh, wow.
So while they have the free-to-play version, you could just go to any kind of store, purchase it for $5, have every single character unlocked, and the campaign.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was worth a shot.
Yeah, totally.
I guess it was their way of trying to get people into the game, but everybody just saw it as a Overwatch clone, which again, it wasn't. It was something totally different, but because it was releasing at pretty much the exact time, and what was their names? The guys who were making it were calling out Blizzard. Everybody just kind of...
Oh man, Game Wars.
Yeah.
So, let's do this word association game. I'm just gonna name a few things. You tell me the first word that comes to your head when I name, like, it's all game related, obviously. Okay. Alright, Luigi.
Mansion.
How was that game? I'm guessing you played it.
I haven't played the new one. I played the one on the GameCube. Couldn't get into it.
Okay.
It wasn't my thing.
Gotcha. How about Batman?
Arkham.
Did you play those?
Summer City.
Oh, Summer City?
Summer City.
Oh, man, those are so good.
I couldn't get into them.
What? You couldn't get into the
Batman? No.
Oh, man. Like, I like the first one the most. I couldn't beat Arkham Knight because it pissed me off. The story pissed me off because it was, like, the Arkham Knight's like the new bad guy after the Joker died and whatnot. And I guessed who it was, but then they show that character get killed. Yeah. So it kind of throws you off, like, oh, okay, it's not that person. But then you find out that it was that person, and that what they showed you was just to mislead you. So it's kind of...
Oh, it's one of those cheap tactics. I get you.
And they made you fight in the Batmobile a lot. It was fun at first, but then, like, the mechanics are kind of repetitive, so you're just kind of, like, moving out of Rocket's way, hitting the slide button, then it gets kind of boring after a while. Okay, Super Nintendo.
System?
Okay, speed running.
Speed running. Wall?
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 And I've been playing a lot of games where you run up walls.
Oh, okay, wall. Okay. How about Fortnite?
Pickaxe.
Xbox.
1.
PlayStation.
4.
Atari.
For some reason, I thought Switch. I don't know why. Yeah.
Okay. They probably have some Atari games on there.
They probably do.
Sonic.
Forces.
Sonic Forces?
Sonic Forces.
Which one was that?
That's the newest one that they
How
made.
was that? Because I played one that came out a few years ago, and it was like 3D, and it was actually pretty fun.
If I remember right, I didn't play it. My friend did. He said it was terrible.
Okay.
He was just like, yeah, the main character pretty much is edgier than Shadow the Hedgehog.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was the one where you could make your own Sonic character.
Oh, that's weird. That's not good.
It was interesting. It was really glitchy. Not very well made. But the cool part is if you bought it, depending on which system you got it for, it came with like a controller cover with like the Sonic Forces characters.
That's pretty cool though. That's
Yeah.
almost worth it if you can get that now.
I mean, you probably could, but personally, those little like sticker covers aren't very good for your controllers, anyways. They pretty much melt on them.
Oh, shit.
They get worn down. Of course, your hands get sweaty, so it turns into a nasty mess. And then when you peel them off, all of that sticky residue stays on the controller.
Damn.
Yeah.
You just ruined it for me.
That's
Thanks
what
a
I
lot.
do.
Thanks a lot. All right. Mortal Kombat.
12.
The next one.
It'll get there. It'll get there.
You play Mortal Kombat?
No. Mainly because I cannot do combo fighting games to save my life.
True.
It's For Honor. I've known maybe 2 combos.
How was that? I've never played that
For
game
Honor?
before. I've seen it, but playing it feels different, of course.
For Honor is mildly infuriating.
Mildly infuriating.
Mildly infuriating. It's you don't understand For Honor rage until you're just being poked to death by Nobushi.
I guess that's a speed character.
It is pretty much. She just pokes you with a poison stick,
Wow.
and it's annoying. And now they have like a monk character which also pokes you. So as you can tell, poking is probably the most overpowered thing in that game.
Yeah, of course. Especially if you have like a pole, probably have
Yeah.
to reach as well.
It is a really cool game to watch, and when you get everything down, it's fun, but when you don't, it is actually as infuriating as Mortal Kombat, where you can't move and you're just constantly getting poked to death.
Totally.
So,
Okay. All right. Tomb Raider.
Laura.
Okay. You play Tomb Raider at all? Are you more of the old Tomb Raider or the new trilogy?
I did not grow up with a PlayStation at the time. I was a Nintendo kiddie.
Okay.
And I tried playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. No, it was the new Tomb Raider one.
Oh,
That's
Shadow
Square
of the
Enix did.
Tomb Raider.
No, the first one for the reboot.
Oh, the
I think
first
they
new-
just called
yeah.
it Tomb Raider. I tried playing that on my PlayStation 3, but it kept glitching up, and I kept getting eaten by wolves. So
Oh yeah, those wolves and bears are fucking
yeah,
assholes.
I just remember like everybody like talking about it because of how violent Laura could get killed in that
Oh
game.
my god.
It was horrifying.
She gets messed up. She gets impaled.
It's just kind of like there are times where she got impaled in her throat. It's just like, ooh,
Ooh yeah.
ooh,
Man.
can't do it.
I love it. I love it. What about Metal Gear Solid?
Snake.
Snake. Did you ever play those?
I did.
Which one?
I played 4 and 5. Oh, and then there was one on the PSP I played, but I can't remember what it was.
Was it Peace Walker?
It wasn't Peace Walker. It was the other one.
Damn. I know which one. I just don't know what that
I
one's
can't
called.
remember what
yeah.
it was called. I was terrible on
Yeah,
it because
4 and 5.
PSP controls terribly.
4
was my first one.
for me is more like a movie. Because it's like 20 hours of watching.
It's like the last cutscene was like 45 minutes.
Yes.
Long. It's just like,
And
when
you can't
is this
skip
gonna end?
No, I love the earlier ones, Snake Eater and Sons of Liberty. That's what I grew up on. Love
Yeah,
those
I
type of games.
Didn't get to play them, didn't have a PS2
Oh,
for
yeah.
well, I did for a while, but I played like Splinter Cell on there and Okami. So
Okay, that's very similar. I played what was it? I think Chaos Theory.
Hmm.
That was pretty good.
Apparently, that's the best one. That is the one Splinter Cell I've never played.
Wow,
Yep.
you played the rest of them, but not the
I've
best
played
one.
the original, Pandora Tomorrow, Double Agent, Conviction, Blacklist.
Mm,
Never played Chaos Theory.
should check that out. Check that out. But you should check out the earliest Metal Gear Solid games too, except for the fact that they're hard to play
Hmm.
because they have that overview camera where
Yeah.
you're not behind it, so you have to aim weirdly. But you can get into like a kind of first person shooter in a way,
Yeah.
but it's hard
Pretty
to do.
much when you're aiming down the sides.
Basically.
The first person. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. GameStop.
Employee.
That must be. Is that like being in game heaven in a way? Like kind of like, or is it kind of draining? Do you ever just like, man, fuck games, and let me just not touch or look at a game?
Sometimes you get that way where you're just like, I just don't want to talk about video games. Like the nice part about GameStop is you do get to talk to people about things that you like, video games and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it is a retail job. Like talking about games and what you like isn't necessarily, the end goal or
True.
whatnot. It's about making the sales, helping the customers, stuff like that. The handy part is that if you're big into games and all that other stuff, you are a little bit more effective
Okay,
at helping people,
makes sense.
kind of deal. Like we'll get parents who come in just like, hey, looking for a game for my kid and all this other stuff. And most GameStop employees have to pause for a second.
So wait.
But,
Oh yeah, it's a
know.
retail job. So the people go there who don't game or know
Mhm.
nothing about games at all.
That happens a lot.
Wow, I didn't think that
It's-
would happen at GameStop.
It does.
Hmm.
Mainly because you do have a lot of parents or grandparents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Their
There's a,
their younger ones are interested into that stuff.
I
So,
mean, like the employees that work there.
oh yeah, you don't have to be into games to
Wow,
work at a
that must
GameStop.
be- yeah, it is retail, but this seems weird to go in there and the person might not know about games. I don't
Well,
know.
most people who want to work at a GameStop are people who like to game,
Yeah,
but
of
that's
course.
not like the main thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
just
retail. Damn,
at the
that's
end of
so
the day,
weird.
you're a salesman.
Yeah.
But
Damn, like I'm seeing behind the veil right now. Wow.
yeah, it's again most people who work at a GameStop they like their games,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's not like a mandatory thing. GameStop always gives you a lot of material and stuff like that to help you talk about upcoming games and stuff like that.
Okay.
And what is it? Usually you'll have like your store leads or supervisors who will help you out with certain questions and stuff like that. But again, it kind of helps when you're talking to people about it, but
Yeah.
it's not the primary
No,
focus.
you're right.
Yeah.
I never. Mind blown. All right. Monster Hunter.
World.
How was that game? Because I remember you telling me about it before, but I've never played it or anything like that at all
Monster
before.
Hunter is probably one of the best games I've played.
Wow. Okay.
It's don't know if I would say top 10, top 20, probably somewhere around there. But the game itself has so much content in it. Like for example, I put like over 400 hours into the game.
Holy shit.
Like it has so much content in it. It's extremely satisfying. There's multiple different ways to play it. And the cool part is that they update it and they add new things.
Wow. Okay.
So for example, most of their updates and the monsters and weapons that they add in are free.
That's
Like
dope.
they do free updates, stuff like that. Now they
Shit.
did release something called Iceborne, which is like a $40 expansion,
Okay.
worth every penny.
Probably.
When I bought it, it added another 100 hours of gameplay for me.
So was that the game you played the most hours on? Would you say that?
Ever?
Yeah.
No. The game I put probably the most, at least from what I know, is Warframe.
You play Warframe?
I play Warframe.
Damn, I don't know anyone who plays Warframe. That's a pretty good game.
I put 1,200 hours into
Holy
it.
shit!
Oh no,
Fuck.
I am low end compared
Oh,
to
yeah, I
some
bet.
of my friends. I have a friend who has put over 30,000 hours into the game.
Damn, that's an awesome game though.
It
It's
is.
huge. It's huge.
I was actually kind of sad during the Game Awards when it didn't even get nominated for, what is it, most like content updates for it. Instead, like freaking Fortnite got updates
Of
and stuff
course,
like
of
that. And
course.
it's just like
Warframe is underrated.
Warframe
So
is
underrated. That's a
like,
great game.
I always
give you
tell
that.
people it's probably one of the best free-to-play games I've ever played.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You don't have to spend a dime in it if you don't want to.
Oh, I
Granted,
never
if you
have.
don't do that, then you have to work the market a little bit and stuff like that. But everything you can get in the game, you don't have to spend a dime
Nope.
on. And that's something I always found cool. When I didn't really make a lot of money or really any money for a while, I always worked the market and stuff like that. But now that I have a job, now I can like throw money at it. Like there's people who throw hundreds of dollars into the game, but again, that's like the game doesn't seem to pressure you into doing it.
Okay.
Really the only downside with it is that everything is time-based in it. So in order to build weapons, frames, and whatnot, it takes real-world time. So like,
Damn. Okay.
in order to build a frame, that's going to take at least 4 days. Because it's 12 hours to build each part, which you can build each part at the same time. And then it's another 72 hours to build the frame altogether. The nice part is, though, is that it counts down even when you're not logged in.
That's cool.
So
Damn. 1,200 hours. That's epic.
it is. I played it when the PS4 first came out, and I still go
Okay.
back to it. And they're really good at updating the game and stuff like that. But something that's nice about it is they don't really nerf too much.
That's good.
So most of the time when they nerf something, it's because it is broken or it's kind of ruining the game for the rest of the community. For example, there's this strategy that like PC players call, it's called press, I think it's 4 to win, which is your 4th ultimate ability. Some frames where it's just like their ult is just so powerful, that's all people spec into.
Okay.
There's this ninja frame called Ash, where his ability was pretty much teleporting between enemies and stabbing them, which
Okay.
is cool and whatnot. Problem is that when they originally had it, they would just keep hitting it, and it actually made it difficult for people to kill the enemies, because when Ash was stabbing them, the enemies were only vulnerable to Ash's stab. Nothing else. So
Okay.
it would absolutely just ruin runs, because he had all these Ash mains who were just like, I'm the best thing ever. And they would continue to stab enemies that just weren't taking the damage they needed to die, and he would just get an entire wipe. So they nerfed him by making it where he has to now mark people instead of just pressing this and then everyone in an area gets stabbed. It's now he has to mark the people he wants to stab.
Okay.
So it's not even really a nerf, more of a rework.
You feel like it works better that way?
I think it does, because it doesn't support lazy play,
Okay.
which, I mean, I play Warframe and I'm a lazy Warframe player, but like, it just makes it where people's experience aren't being ruined just because someone only wants to hit one button and stab everything.
Okay.
But I think my favorite instance of a weapon that they just did not nerf or rework for the longest time was this rocket launcher called the Ogress.
Okay.
So at the time it took assault rifle ammo, which was extremely common.
A rocket launcher?
A rocket launcher
okay.
used assault rifle ammo, and it had a capacity of 500.
Shit. Wow.
And it was a silenced weapon for the longest
What
time.
the Damn, that's OP. That's
So you would go into stealth missions with this rocket launcher that really could not run out of ammo, and you were blowing up enemies that did not know you were there because it was silenced. And they only reworked it when they were reworking their stealth system. So now it's a loud weapon, and it uses their sniper rifle ammo. It can only carry like 25 rounds or something like that.
Okay. You think it's better this way?
It is.
Okay.
It's more
Yeah,
balanced.
it sounds like it. Sounds like it for sure.
But like, it took them years to rework it, but it wasn't really ruining anybody's fun. It wasn't like destroying the game balance, so it wasn't like a top priority for them.
Okay.
So, and that's something I always liked with them, where if it's not really ruining anybody's fun and it's not completely broken, they're not going to just focus down and try to fix it.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Did you oh yeah, back to the word association.
Yeah, right.
Fable. Ever play Fable?
I have.
Which one?
I've played 2 and 3.
Okay.
I didn't get to play the first one, I was too young.
Same. I didn't play Fable. I played the second and third. Which one of those you think was the best? Because I didn't, like, I love the second one. The third one was alright. So I feel like it kind of forced you to do stuff. You had to be the king, and you had to do a lot of tedious things just because you were that. But you did get to make decisions, like, you can, like, drop a toxic waste dump on the town to save the other town.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting.
I think I'll go with 2. Mainly because that was my first interaction with a game like that.
Okay.
It had a very strange sense of humor at the time, and the combat was hack and slash, but it mixed, magic and guns and stuff like that. So I don't remember too much of Fable. It's not like Fable itself is very, at least for me, memorable. But when I look back at it, all I can remember was doing the glitch where you can change the time for your Xbox, and that's how you got money.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you would just buy a bunch of property, rent it out, and then you could go into your Xbox's internal clock, change it, and then you got a ton of money.
Okay. That's actually pretty smart.
Yep.
So I remember that. You can buy houses and things of that nature. That's cool. Okay, awesome. What about Grand Theft Auto?
6.
Have you heard anything about it?
Oh god, no, they're not making this. Well, they're not even going to talk about a 6 for a while. Red Dead just came out.
No, I've heard things about 6.
Now, was it confirmed or was it rumors?
Who knows? I can't answer that question. All I know is I've heard you're a drug dealer. It's back in the 80s. You're a drug dealer in Florida. You're moving up in the ranks. You're going from Florida to Colombia, selling cocaine and things of that nature. You're slowly just going up in the drug dealing ranks. That's what the single player is. From what I heard, is that what it is? I'm not sure.
Probably not. The only reason why is, and again, this kind of goes back to my job and whatnot. Usually, when we hear stuff like that, they address it.
Okay.
So it's whenever you have these big games and stuff like that, and we know Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to come out. It's going to happen, but most of these people are probably just bringing out fake leaks.
It could be.
I mean, I could be totally wrong. It could be set in Florida where you're being a drug dealer and stuff like that. But unless, Rockstar explicitly comes out and they're just so, this is our new Grand Theft Auto game, I kind of, take it with a grain of salt.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, I mean, I get people asking me all the time, when's Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out, but it takes Rockstar a while to make these games.
Oh, yeah, they're so in-depth.
So,
what's your favorite GTA game?
5.
5.
That was the only one I could get into.
You didn't like 4? I like 4 better. I like the story better.
When the other ones came out, I was too young.
And they're outdated now. I couldn't play San Andreas or Vice City now.
Yeah,
I mean, bad.
I've never was a big Rockstar fan, so that makes me crazy, and I'm in the minority. Goes to show you that my opinion is trash.
Not necessarily.
Because I couldn't get into Red Dead 1, and I couldn't get into Red Dead 2.
I beat the first one. I didn't beat the second one, but Red Dead Online 2 was it was too slow.
I heard that the online for 2 was bad.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like you literally can be riding on a horse
Mhm.
for over 25 minutes, like in autoplay, because like they
Yeah.
let you hit the button and you just watch the cinematic, but you literally have to watch it for 25 minutes. And if you get
Mhm.
killed randomly by some random motherfucker out there
Yeah.
who just wants to kill you, you go all the way back and do that shit again.
Yeah, it was. I just gonna get into Red Dead. I ended up trading in to pay for Sekiro.
I'll say
So,
that's a good choice.
hey,
That's a good choice.
I like Sekiro way more. So
Okay, all right. So, what would you say would be your next game purchase?
my next game purchase is actually gonna be Neo 2.
Neo 2. What is Neo?
So Neo was a PlayStation exclusive game where you played as a samurai named William, who is trying to get his his spirit guardian back,
Okay.
kind of deal. It was, I can't remember the exact
Hmm.
like story of it. I was absolutely terrible at the game.
Hmm.
A lot of people compared it to Dark Souls, but it doesn't play like Dark Souls. If I remember right, it plays like this older game called Way of the Samurai.
I played that.
Yeah, it was like a combo-based game. So
Yeah.
as you leveled up, you could unlock new combos for different weapons. In this one, you could learn ninjutsu. I don't think it's kenjutsu. I can't remember the one for
Hmm.
items. I was just really bad at it. Great game,
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal.
Hey, you're getting the
But
next one. It must be good.
exactly, I'm just gonna be terrible at it still.
That's fine as long as you enjoy the game.
Exactly, but this one, it's probably going to be a sleeper hit, just like the first one. Because the first one, nobody cared about it till it came out, and then everybody wanted it. So it's probably going to be the same for this one as well.
Okay.
But in the second one, you play as a different guy who, if I remember right, is a cross between a demon and a human. So you can turn in, like, you have a demon form and your human form. Sort of deal. So that one's going to be my next purchase.
Awesome.
And then after that, hopefully it's going to be Ghost of Tsushima when it comes out, and then Cyberpunk.
I'm waiting for that.
So-
That's going to be a great game. If they can get it right, I'm excited.
I have faith in CD Projekt Red. Like, I only played The Witcher, but it's one of those few games where it had the quality and the quantity in there. Like with most games, it's either you're getting either or. You're not getting both. Like I felt that way with like it was one of the Assassin's Creeds. It might have been Odyssey.
I was just about to ask you if you played Assassin's Creed.
I
before.
have.
Which one do you like? Which one's your favorite?
My favorite one is still Black Flag. It's
Okay.
probably going to be tied with 2, but 2's a little bit more dated now. But Black Flag was probably the first game that actually had fantastic ship combat to it.
Yes.
Where
did.
I enjoyed being on the ship more than being like a stealthy assassin. But I jumped on and off the Assassin's Creed train.
I think everyone did.
Yeah,
there's like a few games, if I just tell people what it's called, they never even heard of it. Like
yeah.
Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Yeah, but Rogue was a small release. Like Assassin's Creed turned into like the Call of Duty of like shanking games, pretty much.
I love Origins though. I do love Origins.
Was great.
Yeah.
But like with Odyssey was one of those games where, as weird as it sounds, it had too much in it.
How so? I haven't played that one yet.
So Odyssey is massive. It's probably one of the biggest maps I've ever seen in the game. But there is so much to do in it. So, for example, how their main quest line worked is that instead of just having like one objective, you have like 11 different objectives.
Holy shit.
At once. So it's one of those games you can't just drop and then come back to, because if you do that, you're overwhelmed. But it had so much to do in it, but a lot of like the side quest stuff was almost like an MMO to a degree of go here, kill this guy, oh, your mission's done. So what kind of ended up happening was all of those little garbage missions that was only really there as some sort of fodder to get you some extra money and experience buried any of the quality side missions that were in there.
Damn.
So you would have some side missions that actually kind of had a story and had more to it, but they were all buried underneath like the MMO garbage in that game, so I kind of ended up, I just started ignoring side quests. And then, like, last time I played, I was just ignoring side quests, just going into new towns, trying to find new weapons, stuff like that. And then I happened to stumble upon one, which was like, I need some money, and then it turned out to be this long side quest.
Wow.
And it was just kind of like, I've been doing so many side quests where literally I just go here, shank this guy, or talk to this one, and then it's done,
Yep.
that I'm ignoring the ones that actually have more to them.
Mm.
So it was kind of like one of those games where it has a lot, but
Too much.
too much, which is, it's a weird complaint.
No, I understand.
Like, but then you have The Witcher, which there's a lot, but like 90% of it is quality.
Okay.
So most of the side quests are going to actually be a quest. It's not go here, shake this
Okay.
person. There's more to it.
Gotcha. I never played The Witcher.
You haven't?
No.
Now the nice part with The Witcher, I only played The Witcher 3.
Okay.
Like, playing The Witcher 1, you need a PC, and it's, from what I've heard, pretty garbage,
Okay.
combat-wise. The Witcher 2, it's 360 and PC, which I've heard mixed things about. But The Witcher 3 is set up in a way where you really don't need to play the other ones to get the gist of the story.
Okay.
So, pretty much, you play as a Witcher, you're trying to find your adoptive daughter before this group called the Wild Hunt finds her.
Okay.
That's pretty much the gist of the story right there. But the game itself, it's a decision-based game, kind of like, with Dragon Age, stuff like that, and Mass Effect. But instead of everything being black and white, it's very much in shades of gray.
Okay. That's
so
cool.
the decisions you make, some are going to be a little bit worse than others, but someone's getting screwed over in one of the decisions you're making. There isn't an ultimate good decision in the game.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Switching up.
Exactly. Some people, it's a little tough to get into. Usually you have to get to the Bloody Baron quest line for you to actually get into the game. So, like, the tutorial level's a little bit slow and can be a little boring, but once you get to that Bloody Baron, which is kind of like the big first quest line in the main story, that's where the game really shines, and that shows you what this game is. I mean, I recommend it. You can get it, like, super cheap now.
Oh yeah, I have Game Pass, so I saw that it was up there as one of the games.
I remember that being on there on Game Pass. I think you could get, like, the complete edition on there.
I don't know.
Hey, it's well worth it. It is well worth it.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Definitely. They also have, like, a Netflix series that's also pretty good as well.
Okay. I've heard, I saw like memes and people post about it online, but haven't watched it myself.
It is really good.
Is it better if you play the game then watch it, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter too much. When I played the game, it helped a little bit with identifying certain characters.
Okay.
But the show does that too. The only thing to know about the show, though, because if I remember right, it plays out kind of like how the books play out, where it follows 3 different characters and it's all set in, like, different time zones. Sort of, not time zones, but different eras kind of deal. So one's, like, set way in the past, the other one's set kind of not as far into the past, and the other one's set in the present. Until they all kind of converge into the same spot.
Gotcha. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it, and I think it's only like 10 episodes.
Solid.
And I think they already have a season 2 confirmed for it.
I saw that.
Yeah. They did a really good job with the main guy.
Oh, Superman.
Yep, Henry Cavill, I want to say. He is a great Geralt. Like, literally while he was, performing and whatnot, it's just like, this is the same guy from the game.
That's
it
awesome.
would not surprise me.
Because usually, like, video adaptations of video games are bad. Like the Mortal Kombat movie, the Tomb Raider movie.
Well, I think a part of that helps too is, what is it? The Witcher is actually a book series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, it's a book series, and the games themselves don't even really follow the books, if I remember right. They just kind of, how do you call it, take inspiration from the books.
Gotcha.
So it's not really a video game adaptation, it's a book one.
Okay, that's cool then.
Yeah.
Solid. Especially, I'm a writer, so I totally appreciate that. I might actually check it out now.
Oh, definitely do. I hear that the books are really good. I haven't read one yet. Because reading is hard.
Yeah, I think I read actually, I wrote my first 2 books before I even read a book before.
Oh,
I thought it
really?
would be interesting to like write a book and not have an idea of what a book is supposed to sound like.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a real expression instead of like I'm trying to kind of take from this, you
Mhm.
know. So I thought that was interesting.
I mean, it's not like too uncommon. What is his name? Miyazaki, the guy who made like Dark Souls and stuff
Hmm.
like that. If I remember right with him, he when he was a child, he couldn't read very good English. So when he would read like these Western books and whatnot, he had to almost like bridge the blank spots with
Right.
his own imagination, and that's kind of what inspired him with a lot of the Dark Souls games, especially when it comes to their lore, because nothing is really definitive in the Souls games. Most people have to try bridging the gap with what the games tell you and through like descriptions and the environment and stuff like that, and that's actually why so many of these lore heavy people love the game so much, is because they love just kind of scrounging through and trying to build their own story. So pretty much he took something from his childhood and then implemented into his own games.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
All right. So just to end it here,
Mhm.
what's your history with like your art? Cause like you send me some of the pictures you drawn, and they're really good, like tremendous. So how long have you been drawing? And like, do you have any projects in the future you're working on?
I mean, let's be fair, everybody's drawn since they were children.
I mean, like really drawn. Like yeah, I drew when I was a child too, but
I mean,
like I stopped. When did you like decide? Well, I'm gonna keep drawing and try to progress and whatnot.
gosh, I want to say that was when I, funny enough, started working.
Hmm.
So, I took art classes and whatnot in high school, and when I went into college, I went into game development. So, I drew a little bit in there, but that was mainly just texture art for like what is it, my models and whatnot. Um, I always tried drawing or creating the textures instead of just pulling them off of the internet and plastering on a polygon. Um, but I started really drawing again when I started working. Funny enough, I started watching anime again, a little bit more of it.
Okay.
My friend convinced me to watch Naruto.
Oh, Naruto. I've never seen it.
It's
Is it good?
Don't watch it. I just like calling it Sad Ninja Show. I shouldn't even
Sad
like it
Ninja
so
Show.
much. I originally watched a tiny bit. I was forced to watch it when I was like 10 years old. Freaking age 23, I'm like, let's watch this. For some reason, I loved it. But there was this giant, we call them chakra Gundams, pretty
Okay.
much.
Chakra Gundams.
But there
Okay,
was one
okay.
called Susanoo. It's pretty much inspired off of a Tengu, which,
Okay.
do you know what a Tengu is?
No.
It's pretty much like this crow demon that wears this mask, with like
Okay.
the really long nose. But I saw it and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I want to draw that. So I had like a really crappy drawing program on my iPad mini.
Mhm.
I would sketch it on like a piece of paper, take a picture on the iPad mini, and then use my finger to like draw it. Once I, started making some more money, I properly made or bought myself a tablet that came with a free program. And then after that, I just kind of kept practicing and kept wanting to do more. And it's been more self-teaching now, trying to get better. But it's just, as funny as it sounds from that stupid show, with
Wow.
an ability,
Sad Ninja Show. You
Sad
said.
Ninja Show, with an ability that isn't even like that huge. I got into a drawing binge.
Cool. Cool. All right.
So
3 random animes that you like.
Oh.
Either TV show or movie, doesn't matter.
Oh, that's rough. Well, I'm not gonna count Sad Ninja Show. Well, I'll just talk about some that I just kind of recently started watching. So, started watching Dora Hidoro, which that one, it's like a bit of an acid trip.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, pretty much, what is it? It's set in almost like a post-apocalyptic world that's, mixed with, like, sorcerers. Pretty much these sorcerers come from their own world, go into this place called the Hole, and then they use humans as practice or as experiments, sort of deal. And it follows this guy named Cayman whose head was turned into a lizard head. Doesn't know his past, doesn't know anything, but he knows that there's this man inside of him, right?
Okay.
So he'll go in, grab these sorcerers, pretty much shove their heads into his mouth, and then the guy in his mouth will look at him and tell him if it's the one or not.
Okay.
Which he doesn't even really know what's going on. It's just more of, this dude's inside of me and he's telling me if it's the one or not, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. And then usually he kills the sorcerers.
Okay.
Apparently it's a manga. I haven't read the manga and it's only really on episode 4. Problem is you kind of have to watch it through non-legal means yet, because it's only on Netflix Japan, but hopefully it'll be on Netflix soon. Another one that I just finished, No Gun's Life, where it's about some dude who literally has a gun for a head. You've probably seen a theme now.
Okay.
But it's almost takes place in this, not necessarily post-apocalyptic, but almost in this corporate world where body modifications and stuff like that is sort of the norm, and these huge corporations control it. It's almost like they're controlling people through it.
Okay.
It's more to it than that, but I'm drawing a blank. And then I'm gonna suggest what I suggested to my friend, Psychopaths.
Psychopaths.
Which pretty much takes place in the future, where they have this big system called Sybil, I think it's called, but everything is measured by your psychopaths, which is your psyche. So your jobs and stuff like that is measured by it, and it's enforced by this gun, pretty much, called the Dominator, right? So you have your cops and whatnot, but when they're chasing down criminals, the Dominator will take a scan of the person's psyche level, and depending on their psyche number, depends on what the gun does.
Okay.
So if they're not a threat, like their psyche's below a certain amount of number, the gun can't even arm. You can't shoot it. It won't let you. If it's a little higher, it'll go into like stun mode. If they're like way up there, it'll go into kill mode.
Okay.
Kind of deal. So it's almost like these cops are chasing them down, but at the end of the day, it's the system that decides what to do with them. And on top of that, the system will also tag people as latent criminals, which pretty much means, like, their psyche is up here. They haven't committed anything damning, but they probably will. So people can literally get thrown into prison without committing a single crime, just because their psychopaths meets that
That's
criminal
scary.
ring.
That's scary. That's like future America.
Right?
Like your phone reading your micro expressions and shit.
Yep. It's nutty, but it is actually quite interesting.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess I'm on like a post-apocalyptic binge right now.
Solid. Like all the animes I've watched are kind of older. Like have you seen Bubblegum Crisis?
I have not seen Bubblegum Crisis.
It's basically like a group of females. It's like robots taking over. They wear Iron Man suits and they try to fight the evil robots. Sometimes they're disguised as humans, so you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
That's basically what's going on there. There's one called the Digital Devil Story. It's basically, I think it's not raw, like no, it's set from ancient Egypt. He's a computer program and he's trying to get out of the computer, basically. It's pretty fascinating. Then there's I think it's called Amon 444. It's basically like a post-apocalyptic monsters taking
Mhm.
over, trying to kill people type of movie. Pretty fascinating, though.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of any one of those.
Yeah, they're all old, super duper old. They're all on YouTube though. I found it one random day.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. Sometimes I watch some of those older ones. Gosh, I wish I could remember what it was. Jinro, that's what it was called.
I've heard of that. I might have watched it though. I'm not sure. It's like GEN-RU.
Yeah, it's like, at least from what I've seen, it's like JIN-ROH, but I've seen it spelled differently. Yeah, that one pretty much it follows a, what is it, sort of like a heavy unit police guy who kind of goes through like PTSD.
Oh no, that's not what I watched then.
Well, PTSD. There's more to it. It's interesting, and it gives off like the whole big bad wolf theme sort of deal. It has some cool bits, but it's a very, very slow movie. So like there's action at the beginning and there's action at the end, and the entire middle is just like
solid. Sounds solid though.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, let's end this. What's your gamer, like your PlayStation gamer tag? So if anyone watching this wants to like randomly game out with you or something.
Well, I guess my PlayStation gamer tag is JPEG.
JPEG?
Yeah.
You got that? JPEG?
Well, it's JPEG underscore 23 MB, which I know it's a huge picture file. But yeah, that's kind of my PlayStation ID.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just kind of stick with JPEG.
Solid.
Yep.
And Xbox, I know you have one, but you don't play it too much.
Yeah, that one is JPA73. I stole that one from my dad, and I refused to pay them money to change it. So.
Understandable. It's $10, and it's a robbery.
$10 for a name change. I'm good.
Totally. All right. That was solid.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem. It was nice being here.
Back up. Let's